What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm Doug Kyed, joined as always by Michael Hurley. Michael, busy day, busy 2 days for the Patriots. How are you doing on this Monday night?
Do we want the answer? I'm here. I'm fine. I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Things are
I don't mean to
fine.
complain, but sometimes you got the wrong energy, and I need to shift the energy toward the Patch Chat podcast.
We can help you with that.
Oh.
So at this time, just so that people who are listening, let's say on like Tuesday morning, are aware, it is 8:30. The Patriots have signed 7 players today. They signed one player yesterday, and they re-signed a player yesterday, and they traded a player this morning. So we will be talking about Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis, Morgan Moses, Milton Williams, Khyiris Tonga, Josh Dobbs, Mack Hollins, Devon Gotcha, and Austin Hooper. And if a deal breaks in the middle of the podcast, we'll talk about that guy too. But I just felt like it made the most sense to start off the show kind of going one by one, talking about the signings. And then after we do all of that, as to not date ourselves too badly, then we'll talk about what we want to see next. But it wouldn't make sense to talk about what we want to see next first, in case you're listening tomorrow and it's then outdated. So let's kick things off with Harold Landry, because that was the first signing.
Let's talk about what's first next.
Okay. Harold Landry. He signed on Sunday night. Remind me next year to fortunately I was home, but like remind me next year that free agency actually starts the Sunday night before the open tampering period, before Wednesday free agency. Like
Well,
it was like
released,
a lot of stuff happened last night.
Yeah, Devontae Adams was another. So any of
DK
those released
Metcalf.
guys. Yeah, I mean, I figured you'd want to get the trades or the street free agent guys taken care of before Monday, so that made sense. But
right, there are still some guys who have yet to be released. Like Cooper Kupp's still out there right now.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we'll cut him, guys. We'll do it. Don't make us do it.
Already dating ourselves if he gets cut and then signs the Patriots, but it seems like he won't get cut until Wednesday.
Landry, that was like the most predictable signing of all. Like as soon as he was released, it was like, well, he should probably he can just start scouring the real estate market in the greater Foxborough area, because
he can start driving to Foxborough.
It's just gonna happen. Yeah.
3 years, $43.5 million. If I'm being completely honest, like feels like a little bit of an overpay.
Well, let's start with this.
A ton of cap space, so in the grand scheme of things, like it doesn't really affect things that much.
I would even zoom it out, not just Patriots. Like every deal today was absurd because the cap has gone up, and it's just like the everything's like, oh, this is the biggest contract ever for this position, and it's like, well, yeah, like that's going to happen right now.
It happens every year.
Milton Williams makes more than Tom Brady did. It's like, yeah, like that's it's been 6 years, so we have to, and I struggle with it myself, but we have to get past like the shock value of what the numbers are now.
Yeah.
So like because, Josh Allen just made $300 million. Like these things, it takes some adjustment mentally, but that's just where they are with the cap and everything.
It was 43.5, right? Or was it 47.5? I should know this.
You really should, Doug. You're really just hurting the reliability.
I truly am. But to your point, like
43.5, okay, 26 guaranteed.
Yeah. So 14.5 million or whatever that is per year is the new like 8 million. Like 5 years ago, that same contract would have been 8 million. And it is hard year to year to adjust when the cap is rising so much. But it's like, yeah, that's kind of the going rate. The only reason why I would say like maybe it's a slight overpay, like Malcolm Kuntz signed 1 year, $12 million. He's younger, but he missed all of last year with an injury. Harold Landry is still a very good run defender. He's still been getting a lot of sacks. His like pressure rate hasn't been that high over the last 2 years since he missed 2022 with a torn ACL. But like the biggest thing this year for the Patriots has just been to sign guys that they know. Mm-hmm. Every single player they've signed outside of Milton Williams, who we'll get to soon, has played for some Patriots coach. Most of them Mike Vrabel, half of them Josh McDaniels, a handful of others, Terrell Williams, Todd Downing, but like they've played for someone. So that thing that Elliott Wolf was talking about at the combine of like, we probably could have done better research on some of these guys. They don't have that excuse this year. everyone except for one guy has played for some sort of Patriots coach and knows what these players are made of, including Harold Landry.
That's why you get Landry. It's not because he's
Right.
going to come change your franchise. It's because Vrabel knows what he's getting with him. He knows how to use him, and he knows what. Like there's no yeah, too much money theoretically, but that's sort of the cost of doing business. And he's going to come in and be a certain way on the field, off the field, and it's just needed. Like they're like professional football players needed in New England, and I think that was the start of it. But just overall today, like that is Vrabel following through with what he said 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, being paraphrasing. This team sucks. They need a lot of good players. It started today, and yeah, like no one's I think if you just even not Patriots wise, there's no perfect player available in free agency almost ever. I don't know that there's a case where a player who's a great performer, entering his prime, perfect leader, all these things, and like doesn't cost the absolute moon is ever available. So this is life when you need a ton of players. There's players that are flawed but expensive, and here you go.
For sure. The next signing, re-signed Austin Hooper. Don't have to go too far into this one, but the Patriots definitely had a need behind Hunter Henry at tight end. Austin Hooper was really good last year. Yeah.
Pat's chat. We pushed for that last week. We said they should sign him.
100%. And he's not only has experience with Drake May, he also played under Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels. So like trifecta there with Austin Hooper.
I didn't realize that.
Everyone knows about Austin Hooper. Yeah, he played for the Raiders under McDaniels, played for the Titans under Vrabel. Yeah, a lot of ties there. Solid re-signing. $5 million, I think it was. That's a bargain at this point.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He is. And like if Hunter Henry goes down with an injury, you can rely on Austin Hooper to step in and be a starter.
Did he not get the memo though that players are getting crazy money? He was like, "Oh, $5 million for a backup tight end, nice."
Sweet.
He could have gotten like 7.5,
possibly.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I think someone put out there that like he liked playing with Drake May, and he's like friends with Hunter Henry. I forgot who it was. Someone, but like, yeah, he doesn't have to. I think he just he has he owns a house somewhere outside of New England. I know this from talking to him. I forgot where it was. So like he just kind of like lives in whatever city he's playing in for like 4 months or whatever. Not a bad setup, I'd say.
No,
No,
not bad.
If you can do it. They traded Devon Godja for a 2026 7th round pick. Not a major surprise here. We said he was tradable. 2026 7th round pick is like barely tradable, but at least you're getting something for him. They did not have to release him, which is big.
Yep, sure. When do you want to get into the like? We should break up all the additions with like sort of the like car crash that happened in the middle between DK and Godwin and all that.
Yeah. So that's as DK Metcalf got traded last night.
Sunday night.
And that was for
which
2nd round pick, and then signed a 5-year, $150 million deal.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Because that was another thing where you're like, seriously, but to me, I'm not saying I had the parameters laid out. I didn't really spend much time on that, but if you told me 5-150, I'd be like, yeah, probably something like that. I mean,
yeah, no, the money's not bad there. If I'm the Patriots, though, like trading the 38th overall pick in that deal, does seem a little bit steep, right?
Yeah, not all 2nd round picks are created equally,
right? So it's just kind of like the Seahawks pick is like 10, 15 picks later, something like that. That makes a pretty massive difference. So I know the Patriots still need a wide receiver, unless they've signed one by the time you're listening to this. But like that deal, I wasn't that torn up about.
Well, what about the fact it sounds like they weren't really involved at all?
See, I haven't necessarily heard the same thing on that one.
Okay.
But maybe they weren't involved because they knew that Metcalf didn't want to come to New England. Like maybe it was that kind of situation where like checked in, didn't seem like this was a place he wanted to be, and then kind of checked out.
I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just realized my computer's unplugged, and we just can't have that.
No, it can't have that.
So I'm gonna mess with that. And then the Godwin thing's just kind of annoying, where it's like, all these reports about how he's going to be sought after, how he's going to set the market, how he's going to get all this money, and then it's just like, I don't really feel like moving, guys. I'm just going to sign with Tampa Bay. It's like this could have been done months ago. There was no reason for that to happen today.
This could have been an email. 3 years, $66 million. I think Ian Rappaport said that he left $20 million on the table, which that to me means someone was trying to sign him for probably
4 years.
80 something million.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good deal for Tampa. The concerns, I watched Godwin. I watched Tom Brady literally drive him into the ground, where Godwin's like, "Guy, my quad is on the field. I don't have it." He's like, "You got to get back out there." Like, it was sick. And then he gets injured again later. So those were the only concerns. But I mean, good player, good value for Tampa, but just annoying that they did that after the tampering period started. Like, what was the point?
Right. Yeah. Just do that on Sunday night so that no one gets their hopes up that they're going to sign you. But yeah, good deal for Tampa. $22 million a year for Chris Godwin seems like a pretty good deal on paper. He's getting up there in age. He had a pretty bad injury last year, but clearly teams were still interested, including the Patriots. And in the end, you can't really fault the Patriots on that one when a guy's going to be like, no, I just want to keep playing here for $20 million. And and leave $20 million on the table. So can't blame them that much for that one. Robert Spillane signed for 3 years, $37.5 million. This is another one where that number seems pretty shocking. But it's a starting linebacker, someone that once again, Mike Vrabel coached during his first year in Tennessee. And then Josh McDaniels was involved when they signed him to the Raiders to a 2-year contract. He's played every game over the last 2 years. He's the kind of linebacker they're looking for. They know who he is. They know what he does. He fits what they want to do. And it's like, well, they upgraded at linebacker. That's what people wanted them to do. Jamien Sherwood was not on the board at that point because he re-signed with the Jets yesterday. So it's like, all right, come on down, Robert Spillane.
Yeah, and he stops the run. I don't know if you know this about the Patriots last year. They had trouble stopping the run. This guy had 1 million tackles last year. I don't know, because the Raiders were so bad. You'd assume that some of those numbers are inflated by a team just being up in the fourth quarter and running it up the middle to kill clock.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, I know his PFF run defense grade is good. So it makes sense that they would go that because, again, it's another position. We all do O-line, receiver, O-line, receiver, O-line, receiver. Their linebacking core definitely didn't impress over the past couple of years.
No, and it did not help that Juwan Bentley got hurt last year, obviously, but then the fact that they had to play Jelani Tavai and Raekwon McMillan until Raekwon McMillan they decided that he was playing so poorly that they would just release him. At which
Christian
point,
Ellis in there.
Christian Ellis, Sione Takitaki played so poorly last year that he was released 2 months ago at this point. So yeah, they need to do something there, and Robert Spillane was the answer. Next guy up was Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. I liked this signing. Once again, price tag seems high, but he's a 6'1", 200-pound cornerback, press man. He can play across from Christian Gonzalez. Obviously, he won't be asked to trail number one guys. He's going to be going up against the line number twos. And then when the Patriots just kind of play sides, you probably got a lot more help from safeties than Christian Gonzalez. So all those things combined, they've got a very good cornerback duo. We'll see what they wind up doing in the nickel, whether that's Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, someone who's not on the team yet. But it's definitely a good start for me with Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis.
So let's take this defense. And my only complaint about Carlton Davis is when he was on the Bucks, he wore 24. And for whatever reason, Darrelle Revis played 1 season in Tampa. I can't tell you that I watched a ton of Bucks games that year. Yeah. I only saw Revis when he played. It was weird. It was something about the jersey and the number. I don't even think Revis did. Revis had that jersey the last year. Then they did those stupid Nintendo jerseys. Back. Anyways, let's say you could go back in time with Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, aka not Darrelle Revis, and you're playing the Rams a few months ago.
Yeah.
Who do you put him on? Is it maybe like the fourth receiver? How would they have handled that, do you suppose?
I think at that point you got to put Christian Gonzalez on Puka Nacua.
You think so?
Put Carlton Davis on Demarcus Robinson.
Okay.
And you kind of take your chances with Cooper Kupp in the slot, I feel like.
Or just don't cover him.
or just don't cover them like they chose not
Okay.
to.
I
In
think
game.
that I bring up that game because that one's sort of exposed where they're like, shoot, we only have one cornerback. How can we approach this
what do
week?
we do about this?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Let's just cover the worst guy. Let's get him locked down.
They've
and
got
then
2 good guys. Let's cover the bad one.
and then come what may. So I
Yeah.
just think this obviously game planning becomes a lot easier. I think back to like when they had Stephon Gilmore at his defensive player of the year level, game planning was so easy defensively where it was just like, all right, he's on this guy. The safeties don't have to worry about him. And they have all of this focus on the other 3 receivers. It was like, oh, that's easy. So this should at least allow them to treat Gonzalez. And we think he can take on that kind of role. I'm not saying he's a defensive player of the year, but if you're strategizing, it's like, oh, this has now become a lot simpler in terms of laying it out because you have someone on the other side who's a professional NFL cornerback.
Yeah, and Carlton Davis played for the Lions last year. Patriots defensive coordinator Terrell Williams was their defensive line coach. So another connection there. Lots of connections among these guys. Like I said, outside of one guy who was the highest paid. But next up, Morgan Moses. Michael, I have some bad news.
He does not play left tackle.
Patriots have a lot of right tackles again.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still, they needed it. I think he'd prefer the left tackle.
Yeah.
The left tackle money was wild.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Was it Dan Moore with the $80 million? Is that
he's
480?
Like, if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, how much is Dan Moore going to make a year? I would have been like, I don't know, cool, like 12 million, something like that.
I would have been like, who's Dan Moore?
Never in a million years would I have guessed 20. And we'll say this right now, by the time you listen to this, maybe they have a left tackle. Maybe Cam Robinson signs. We'll see what happens. But they did need a right tackle. Can't go into next season with Caden Wallace as your right tackle because you don't know what Caden Wallace looks like at right tackle yet. You definitely can't go into next season with Demontre Jacobs or Vidarian Lowe at right tackle. You can't go into next season with Caleb Jones as right tackle. So yes, Morgan Moses, 34 years old, 3 years, $24 million. Seems like a lot for a 34-year-old, but at least you have a guy that you know can play right tackle, is pretty good at it, can probably do it for at least the next year. And then maybe by that point, you have a better idea of what Caden Wallace is, and then maybe he starts after a year or two. So overall, like honestly, 3 years, $8 million a year, that's a bargain in today's free agency.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you get to camp. Let's say spring stuff happens, get through camp. First day of camp, you're like, wow, Caden Wallace looks great. And he plays his way on the team. It's not the worst thing that you paid that much money in free agency for. Like if Caden Wallace wins that job, it's still not a bad, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's still not a bad outcome considering the cost and the veteran aspect of what you signed. And one thing about tackles, Doug, this is a little inside info for you. They're always getting hurt. So to just have 2 is not enough. I think this is necessary again. You'd want the left tackle. You wish you could have landed your guy that you don't have to worry about. It does complicate how they move forward, whether that becomes a draft need, etc. But right tackle was still a need, and it solidifies at least on Wenyu's position, which is important, even though guard is less important. The fact that he has a position and won't have to change helps.
Yeah, you know that Michael Wenyu's going to be playing right guard now, which is big. Still don't. I mean, David Andrews currently in there at center. There was a rumor because I think reports come from reporters. So a rumor that he was going to be released or something that has not happened. We'll find out by Wednesday if that happens. But you've got a pretty good idea now of who your right tackle is, your right guard is, your center, and then the left side's still a little bit undecided, but we'll see if that stays the case. I will say, so at this point, you have Harold Landry, you have Robert Spillane, you have Carlton Davis, you have Morgan Moses, you have Austin Hooper, you've traded away Devon Godshaw, and Chris Godwin's off the board, DK Metcalf's off the board, and the rumor is that Milton Williams is going to be signing with the Panthers. Patriots fans start peeing down their legs a little bit at this point, which I don't fully blame them for. Like, if you strike out on all of your number one targets, that's not a great thing. Ronnie Stanley re-signed with the Ravens. Dan Moore was with the Titans. So this was an interesting situation where Twitter was down for most of the morning. People on Blue Sky who were ESPN employees just started to say, like, Adam Schefter is saying Milton Williams like Adam Schefter said on ESPN, Milton Williams is close to signing with the Panthers.
Well,
and it's just these like ESPN employees who are saying, because Schefter's not on Blue Sky.
Well, there was like a bot that was reposting his tweets, and then if you went to that, it said 13 days ago, it got shut down. And it's like, well, that is unfortunate timing because this would have been useful today.
So it was, like I said, like people from ESPN just kind of saying like blue skying, skeeting, whatever you want to call it.
I would not call it that, but it's a free country.
What he was saying on ESPN. And then a couple other reporters then must have confirmed with someone that he had planned to sign with the Panthers. Someone was out there, they were signing with the Panthers. And then, I don't know, 45 minutes later, 30 minutes later, something like that, the Patriots were signing him for $26 million a year. So a tough 45 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it was for Patriots fans. I kind of feel like this might not have happened if Twitter was up, because people wouldn't have been taking what Schefter was saying on TV.
This is a tweet. 3:10:25 at 1:10. Panthers working to finalize deal with Milton Williams per sources. So he did manage to sneak a tweet out during the heck. I mean, we couldn't see it. I was trying to find what the offer was because I never saw it and I still haven't seen it. So Schefter managed, of course, Twitter worked for Schefter, but no one could see it.
Right.
All right. But someone else had tweeted it too. A local reporter in Carolina, I believe.
I still say that if Twitter had been working properly, maybe he's just thinking more clearly and doesn't put that out there. But who knows? I reached out to Patriots people to be like, what's the background here? What's the backstory? Like, how'd you guys steal him from the Panthers? And they were like, they didn't really feel like they stole him from the Panthers. They just kind of felt like they were still negotiating. And that people might jump the gun a little bit about him signing with the Panthers. So that's what I know about it. All in all, very positive thing for the Patriots.
Do you think their Panthers GM, Dan Morgan, do you believe he was like, we got him, and just that was it? And like they didn't know that they didn't got him?
Maybe, or I don't know if like the information was coming from Dan Morgan. I don't know if it was coming from the agent. Maybe the agent was like convinced that someone wasn't going to up the deal. I don't know what happened. Like you would kind of have to ask the Panthers, because for the Patriots, they were kind of like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What's the backstory? Like they just kind of thought it was like a normal signing.
Right. They're not on Blue Sky, the Patriots.
They're really not. But I don't know. I just think this was pretty big for the Patriots to do this. Like he's a 25-year-old player. He was a monster in the Super Bowl. He's a great pass rushing interior defensive lineman. He's exactly what the team needs. I don't know if he's going to be a Pro Bowler. I don't know if he's going to be an All-Pro. He's the second highest paid free agent to switch teams so far today. Sam Darnold was number 1. That's quarterback. Milton Williams is number 2. It's a lot of money to pay him.
Do an hour on Darnold. Like you saw the end of that season. You're like, you know what? We're going to trade our quarterback. We're going to trade our best receiver. We're going to cut our second best receiver.
Yeah.
Sammy D time. But no one, this is not Seahawks chat. But
no, this is not Hawks chat.
No, and I said the other day, like, this isn't, Milton Williams isn't going to sell jerseys.
Right.
He's not like that type of play. He's not like Judon, with the not going to do red sleeves and all that. But he's a very important player for a team that needs someone. I mean, it changes. The one person we talked about when Vrabel became the head coach who stood most to benefit. Do you recall?
Who stood the most to benefit when Vrabel was named head coach? I don't know who.
Keon White. Like we were like, that is a massive. This is massive for his career because he took a big step back last year with no coaching and no direction, lost it. So now he has the coaching, but more importantly, he has this guy on the line, which I think is going to help change. I mean, I was just talking about game planning. Think about the other way where you're like, crap. You're the opposing offense, and you're like, now we have something to deal with. We have Landry, you have White, and you have Williams, and then fill in whoever else might be on that front four. It's hopefully
Christian Barmore, but no one really knows. Yeah,
right. And I mean, if it is him, you're going into that game strategy. And I mean, the ultimate example. This is not Aaron Donald. I'm not saying that, but that we know from Patriots games against the Rams, that. The process steps 1, 2, and 3 were Aaron Donald, and then you go to the next. This is not that, but at least you have multiple people for them to worry about. And if you can at least get, I don't want to say exotic, but somewhat unpredictable with how you utilize those players, it's a significant step up. Even though Williams is really bad against the run. I'm not telling you I broke down the tape. I'm just going by the grade. The run defense grade is really bad. I think maybe one of the worst. But if you can sack the quarterback, that's kind of forgiven.
Yeah, and they want him to get upfield. Maybe he'll it's probably a different style than what he's been playing in. So it might not be as bad. And even if it is, you make your money as a pass rusher. He was one of the best interior pass rushers last season. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like that signing just means more like, I don't know, holistically too, where it's like you got your guy. You signed the top guy. You were able to convince the top guy to come to New England. Yes, you had to pay a ton of money, but you have to pay free agents a ton of money. And you got a guy that has no ties to New England. I don't believe he's played under any Patriots coaches unless it's some random guy that he's played for with the Eagles. But I don't know. That just is meaningful to me that Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel and all these guys were able to actually close the deal and even possibly pry him away from someone that he intended on signing with.
Yeah. And it didn't, I mean, it cost you a ton of money, but I'm sure the other offers for him weren't 16 million a year. It's not like you overpaid by 10 million a year. It was probably 3 to 5 million a year, perhaps over the highest one, but we don't know. I mean, maybe that will come out. Maybe the Panthers will leak out what their offer was when they thought they had him, but it's a lot. Again, we have to take a step back. He was the top rated free agent in a lot of boards. So that's, I don't know that, I mean, comparative wise, Patriots history, Adalys Thomas was a big deal, that midnight deal back in 2007. Yeah. And for as bad as it ended with Adalys Thomas, he was a monster for a couple of years. Right. I don't know if you ever watched Super Bowl 42 on a replay. He was unbelievable in that game. So it's not as if when you step into these waters, it's always bad. No. Sometimes we focus on the bad over the good, but this is, and then the other thing that you have to is you're not getting a guy who's 30. This is his second deal. He's relatively young and has a lot 25. Of problems. Nothing I said is what I said, nobody's perfect. You wonder how he's going to be without all those other guys in Philadelphia to help draw some attention away. And I think he only played half the snaps for the defense last year. So I would presume at 26 mil, you're going to take on some more snaps, but again, it's what you had to do. I really think it was necessary for the Patriots to proceed. You still need to see them fill important holes. Yeah. But everything they did today was necessary toward what they want to be, which is not painful to watch. How about that?
Right. They've basically, so the last defensive signing was Khyiris Tonga. Lowest profile of the day, I would say, but still you've rebuilt your defense now where your defensive front is Harold Landry, Keon White, defensive end. You've got Milton Williams and either Khyiris Tonga or Christian Barmore at defensive tackle. At linebacker, you've got Robert Spillane and Juwan Bentley. At the cornerback spots, you've got Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. At the safety spots, you've got Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers. And as your nickel, you have Marcus Jones or someone else. That's a pretty damn solid defense. And obviously there's more pieces that you have to add, and they've got other depth pieces already on their roster. But that's you don't even have Anthony Jennings in there, who's a solid player. He's kind of like a 12th man. You don't have a few other guys in there who are solid. It's looking pretty decent. It's certainly looking a lot, but that's a defense you can play with. Whereas last year's was so bad, despite having some guys in there. I feel like they have pretty significantly upgraded their defense this offseason, especially with, Landry, Spillane, Davis, and Williams.
And they haven't tapped into their draft capital, which I think is another big thing, because you don't want to rely on 9 rookies to come in and save your franchise.
No.
But you do want to take a lot of shots. You do want to cover a lot of ground, and I'm sure they will trade some picks at some point. Yeah. Presumably maybe to move up in the draft or to get a player who can help fill those needs they still have. But the fact that they made it through today, the Laramie Tunsil trade, I haven't exactly broken that down, but that was a big cost for, a very good starting left tackle. But you saw what the cost was, and it's almost only a team that's contending can make a deal like that.
Yeah.
Which the contenders, the Commanders are. If the Patriots did that, it would be legitimately stupid. So
that's the thing. I saw Patriots fans being like, why didn't we do that? It was a second, a third, and a fourth for Tunsil and a fourth. When you're rebuilding, you can't add a 31-year-old left tackle or whatever he is for that many draft picks because you have to rebuild. You can like Laramie Tunsil isn't going to win you a Super Bowl if you're the Patriots. Maybe he does if you're the Commanders, but like it's not a deal that you can make when you're in the position that the Patriots are in.
And I'm trying to get the years. It was like a second and fourth this year and a third next year, or
no, it was a second and fourth next year, a third this year.
Okay,
for Tunsil and a fourth. Yeah,
that's a ton. So
it is. Yeah.
It's not a bad deal for a team that made the playoffs,
that
made the NFC Championship game, and wants to improve.
Yeah,
it would be a bad deal for a team that went 4-13, despite needing a left tackle badly.
Right. Yeah, you can hopefully find a left tackle through other means, though they're certainly running out of them at this point.
Too much agreement. I don't know if you know this about sports talk radio, but it thrives on friction and conflict. And when I say something, you've got to be like, no, that's dumb.
You're an idiot. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm usually pretty polite when I do it, like with the Cooper Kupp talk a few weeks ago. But we do.
We could do Kupp talk. Still available. I still think he helps you out.
You still want to trade a 3rd round pick for him, right?
My price has gone down as the league has let me know that a 3rd was too much. But I liked Kupp all along. Now that everyone else is gone, you got to really like Kupp. All right. So let's say it's a 6th.
If they're going to cut him, then no. I like.
But when you cut him, he could go anywhere else. Like you don't have a chance. You don't realistically. I don't think Cooper Kupp's out there. Like, oh man, if I get released, New England. I love Foxborough.
I'll do a 2026 6th, but only if the Rams eat the $5 million, because I don't want to have to pay him $17 million. I'll pay him 12.5, but I don't want to pay him $17 million.
All right, so now I'm coming back at you. I'm Sneed. I'm not a big fan of picks, as we know. I'm gonna say, how about a this year 6th, and I'll eat the 5.
All right.
Okay, that's not. I mean that would.
I don't drive a hard bargain.
I do. I'm a hard ass. You should see me negotiations for all sorts of things. I'm great at it.
Yeah, if you can lock him up, if you can what
do you think about the idea? Like, no one wants to play here. No one wants to play here. No one wants to play here. What do you think of the idea of a move like that? Would he feel like imprisoned? Would he be like, this is BS, I'm not showing up? Like, I don't know how that works when it's a player in a walk year. It's complicated where everyone like let's say they traded for DK Metcalf and he really didn't want to be here. What happens?
Well, it felt like he had a say. Like when you're Cooper Kupp and you aren't immediately going to have to sign a contract extension, you don't really have a say. I would also say, Cooper Kupp went to school at Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
Was born in Yakima, went to high school in Yakima. Personally, this is just me. I've been to Eastern Washington. I currently live in southeastern Massachusetts. I would choose to live in southeastern Massachusetts over Yakima. Would I choose to live in Foxborough over Los Angeles? Maybe not. At the same time, think about all the housing, a lot cheaper here. You're basically already saving money if you're living in Foxborough rather than Los Angeles.
Is it?
It's still cheaper.
Okay.
Southern California is like another level.
I don't think he's purchasing real estate here if he ends up here. So that might be
but he's renting and Like I have a few friends who live in LA because I went to Emerson and everyone moves to LA afterwards except for me. I should have. But one of my friends bought a house in, I think, Burbank. And that's when I was like, oh, you're like making a lot of money. You're doing well, you know?
You got into a profession that was not sports media. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Patriots signed a couple offensive guys. Josh Dobbs, 2 years, $8 million.
Hey, I have to ask you about that.
Yeah.
And it's not football related so much as it is personality related. Should I be as bothered by that as I am? Because I just think that guy stinks. And I know it doesn't matter. He's the backup, maybe third string. I don't really know what they're going to do with Joe Milton. But that whole thing happened where he was a phenomenon and he was an astrophysicist. And I was like, wee. Yeah. And then you get some games and you're like, oh, he sucks. Not sure. That's one where, guys, Vrabel knows his guys. That's one where you're kind of like, do you need to get all the guys, because he's not good.
Yeah, I think I don't know what this tells me. It might tell me that they still plan on having Joe Milton be the backup because
Okay.
it tells me that they want to have 3 quarterbacks, which at this point does make sense. Like when you have that emergency third quarterback designation, makes sense to have 3 guys.
But
Dobbs is
it's
making $4 million a year. It's pretty cheap. But like, didn't Jimmy Garoppolo sign a 1-year, $11 million contract? Like,
did
if
he?
that's the alternative, you're kind of like,
Well,
all
I guess
right, I guess we're signing Josh Dobbs to be the new Jacoby
yeah.
Brissett, you know?
I guess I gotta follow my own advice and not be shell shocked at the money. With Jimmy G, it's probably different because Stafford's what 37,
Right.
as opposed to Drake maybe being 22 or
Yeah.
whatever he is. So maybe it's a little bit more high leverage and just yeah. No, I saw that and it was kind of like didn't at no point were we sitting here on Pat's chat being like they should probably get a Joshua Dobbs type third string, second string quarterback.
Yeah.
That one was weird.
Yeah. I doing research in the middle of a live podcast is not like the coolest thing in the world to do. But like Zach Wilson signed in free agency, and even that one I think was like more than Joshua Dobbs.
Well,
Yeah,
I would
that
add
was
this.
that was 6 million fully guaranteed that could grow to 10 million. So would you
Yikes.
rather have
No,
Joshua
I
Dobbs?
I wouldn't want Zach Wilson anywhere near my football team. I wouldn't want any of that. And no. So yeah, you've helped out. That's what this podcast is for, helping each other out.
Jarrett Stidham was 2 years, 12 million with 7 guaranteed. So like I mean, the other thing too is that like May is still a young quarterback. Vrabel was with Joshua Dobbs in Tennessee. Like he clearly knows that he's someone who could probably like help out and be like a selfless guy or whatever.
Yeah. He might
Do you want to pay $8 million for that? Maybe not, but
I would
yeah,
use like Brian Hoyer has made it clear in retirement that he has a very high level football IQ. It didn't
right,
necessarily make him a great quarterback, but he
right.
certainly was very, instructive for young quarterbacks in the room and whatnot. So I can understand that aspect of it. Do you think, because when that happens, everyone's like, well, they're going to trade Milton. And from what you reported a week ago, it seemed like his standing might be up in the air. Do you think this has anything to do with that?
It could, like, they could still trade him, and if they want to trade him for like a 5th round pick or something, I wouldn't be opposed to it. If you want, like, so do you really want to go into next season with Joshua Dobbs as like your backup? It's tough. I think you would have to then at that point. Then you're signing a 3rd guy or drafting a 3rd guy or whatever it is. I guess in the grand scheme of things, if Drake May gets hurt next year, like you're going to be skunked anyway. So I don't know.
Skunked.
I'm you like that word or do you hate it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I was to say screwed, and like,
Yeah.
who doesn't say screwed? Who says skunked?
Me.
You've outworded me. So no, I mean, generally, I believe that if your starting quarterback goes down for more than 4 weeks,
Yeah.
there's no backup that can save you. Like you can get by for a week with anyone. It's just when it stretches out that you're going to have
I
the problem.
do agree with your overall take though, that like it is kind of amazing that Dobbs signs somewhere every year pretty early, despite the fact that like he's 3-12 as a starter. And we all know that that one stretch that he had was fool's gold.
Yeah.
Mack Hollins was next. This is, I think, 2 years, $8.5 million. This is my favorite thing that happens in free agency. And it's entirely possible that Patriots fans are right. But when they sign Mack Hollins and everyone's like, this signing sucks. I hate this. This sucks. And like, that was like the reaction to them signing Mack Hollins. So now if they trade for Brandon Ayuk, or if they sign Cooper Kupp, or if they do something like bigger at wide receiver, and if that signing came first, then if they sign Mack Hollins, everyone just be like, oh, nice. That's like a decent player to be as like your 4th wide receiver. But since like they signed the cheap guy that they plan on having be a reserve first,
Right.
everyone just despises the signing and overreacts to it. And like I said, maybe they don't wind up with a better wide receiver than this, but clearly they're not signing Mack Hollins to be your number 1. They're signing him as a depth special teams guy,
Yeah. And he, played pretty well with Buffalo. I think he got a lot of attention last year for being weird,
Yeah.
which I don't find any of his weirdness that weird. Like the shoeless thing, he makes a good point. Like we
Yeah.
depend on shoes too much, which fair enough. I don't know if you ever walked barefoot on like rocks. It's terrible. So
Yeah, it
shoes
sucks.
do help. But he has like he doesn't use utensils because
Right.
he's like, you can feel the temperature and you eat less because you're like more in tune with it. I buy that. and you wash your hands more because you're going to wash your hands before you do that. And
Yep.
he said cats steal your soul, which I agree with. I'm sure you don't. I know you're a big cat fan, but you can hash that out with him. And he doesn't take
my cat has probably stolen my soul.
Right. It's just
So,
part of being a cat owner. And then he doesn't take elevators on game day because he's not going to let anyone else lift him up to success. So all of these things, I'm like, I'm not blown away. I'm just like, this guy makes a lot of sense.
He also regularly washes out his garbage and recycling barrels.
Okay.
Which I don't do. Do you do that?
Every so often. You ever get maggots?
No.
Problem when you get the maggots in there. They're hard to get rid of. You got to get vinegar in there. It's like a whole thing. Maggots are gross. I don't even know how that happens. It's like if the lid's left open a little, they get in there. I don't know. But on those hot summer days, I have. But other than that, no, I've never cleaned my recycling in my life, and I never will.
This is related to the conversation we were just having. Jordan Schultz, sources the Patriots have had discussions on trading quarterback Joe Milton III and would like to trade him to the right situation to continue his development in the NFL should a deal get done. New England loves Milton, but Drake May is a franchise, and they just signed Josh Dobbs to a 2-year, $8 million contract to be the backup. So that doesn't mean anything's happening, but Jordan Schultz did at least say that they've had discussions about trading Joe Milton, which, as I just said, I think it makes sense. If you can get something for him, like if you can draft him with a 6th-round pick and then trade him for a 5th or a 4th or whatever it is the next year, like that's just doing good business at that point.
Yeah, I mean that when I see that, and we'll get more as it comes along, it just kind of feels like he's gone. Based on what you said a week ago, based on this, like that doesn't happen if you're like, no, we like him as a backup quarterback. So for whatever reason, I guess, does that count? Let's say they get, I don't know what he would fetch in a trade, but like, how high could he get you a pick? 4th rounder? That seems high. Seems high.
It just seems high. I would probably say
a 4th next year. A 4th next year.
Maybe
a 2026 4th, a 2025 5th feels like the ceiling. And if that comes, is that a silver lining for losing the number 1 overall pick because he decided to have a great game?
I would say that a 2026 4th-round pick is not the difference between the 1st and 4th overall pick on
they have
the
a chart.
trade value charts.
We could check the chart, but I tend to lean to what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. That'll be in our next podcast, unless it happens in the next like 10, 15 minutes. Twitter broke in the worst possible time. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. That was just kind of funny, like really terrible timing. Great job, guys.
Well, because it
got
broke
everyone to
at
go
like
to Blue Sky, which
it broke
Blue
like
Sky,
8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so it was like 8 in the morning, like crap, they better fix this by, the midday. Yeah. And then they did. And then it was totally fine from like 10 to 11, 11:30. Right. And then at like 11:40, it was like, peace. I have a theory.
Yeah.
Elon, a little bit of a controversial figure in the past few months. Yeah. A little bit of a autocrat. I don't know the right word for it. Just taking over the government. I have a feeling maybe there were some employees that were like, what would be really funny? The day that everyone in the sports world, like it would either be this or the Oscars, but I feel like this is probably more pressing where you actually need Twitter to get info. Like the Oscars are on TV and you talk about it on the internet. I thought maybe some employees were like, be a real shame if we tripped over a wire at like 11:45 right before free agency hits.
And it probably is a wire that's keeping it all together there. I would guess. I don't think they have many employees at this point, but yeah, Blue Sky has some work to do. I also haven't used Blue Sky a whole lot, just because I'm lazy, but now I will, because I figured out how to easily cross post between Blue Sky, Threads, and Twitter. But the fact that I was having to like refresh Blue Sky, that I didn't have like a tweet deck type situation, made things a little bit difficult during free agency. I was like just kind of constantly missing things. So I don't know if it was like the greatest moment for Blue Sky, but I do think it got a lot of people to join Blue Sky.
Yeah. Rappaport was having fun. He's like, wow, 100,000 followers in 5 minutes. I was like, shut up, Rap Sheet. Some of us are trying to start on this platform, but yeah, like the app felt like using Twitter 10 years ago.
Right.
It definitely could be modern. Like you hit the whatever send publish button and you're just
Mhm.
waiting. And it's like we can't be waiting. The send it needs to send it, but
Yeah.
it kind of did the job. Like I was at the gym, obviously, you noticed,
Oh, wow.
bulking
I
up a
did
little.
notice. Yeah. You got that pump.
And it sufficed for the in between sets checking for news. Now, granted, I don't follow enough people for it to refresh actually every couple of minutes, but definitely not. It got its moment. It could have been better. I don't know how many people are going to get sucked into blue sky based on today, but it was interesting.
It was.
I had set it up months ago, but never really used it until today.
Yeah. Yeah. I was using it. I'm going to keep using it now that I have a good system in place. Um, we both love Taylor Kyles, right?
Mm-hmm.
He
Participated
tweeted,
in the Friday night show, which was a
he's the
success.
most optimistic person in the world. I love Taylor Kyles. I would say all of this to his face. He tweeted, Joe Milton absolutely deserves the chance to compete for a starting job. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I know
He
that.
played one good game. Like I think this is not a Taylor Kyles thing. I think in general, everyone just needs to slow their roll a little bit on Joe Milton.
Right. He made a couple great plays that day. But I do know when he was drafted, Felger and Maz have played this clip, I'm pretty sure. Or no, Zolak and Bertrand played this clip, and it was like Tennessee football talk show.
Right.
When he was drafted, they laughed out loud for like 3 minutes. So not saying
That's the thing.
not saying that those four random like hillbillies in Tennessee know everything there is to know about ball. I am saying they knew Joe Milton pretty well.
Yeah.
And laughed out loud when he was drafted by the Patriots. So for whatever that's worth.
I'm on the side of slowing my roll on Joe Milton. I'm not all in on Joe Milton at this point. Played great in that game. It was like a preseason-esque.
It was worse because in the preseason, guys are fighting for jobs and want to impress their coaches. Right. I believe the Bills were not doing that. I don't think anyone was trying to impress their coach. I don't know what the Bills were doing
trying
there.
To lose.
If they were allowed to not show up, they would have not shown up. Like Josh Allen started the game, handed it off, came to the sideline, and they had a Super Bowl-esque celebration for him for continuing his start streak on the sideline because it kept them entertained for 5 seconds. Because other than that, there was no reason to be there.
No, they got to punter some incentives. So, yeah. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. What do we need to see next? So the two biggest, most glaring needs left are at left tackle and wide receiver. Cam Robinson is still out there. Cam Robinson is not a super great left tackle, but he's played left tackle. So I think ultimately it's probably a good sign that he's still out there. It means he's probably not going to make like $30 million a year or something like that. Maybe he winds up making $20 million a year. But if you're willing to pay Dan Moore that much, you're probably willing to pay Cam Robinson that much. I don't know what's going on with Cam Robinson, but that's kind of your only choice left. The Chiefs signed a left tackle from the 49ers that I really had only heard of as of yesterday for $15 million a year. I think I would rather have Cam Robinson than a guy who's played like 200 snaps at left tackle. So, and if they don't do that, they're probably going to have to draft a left tackle, which you don't really want to have to go into the season starting a rookie. So it's not the greatest thing, but I'm sort of all in on Cam Robinson at this point at left tackle.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a drawback. I haven't opened up my spreadsheet on cap space. I'm sure they still have plenty of it.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how much because the contracts aren't out yet, but yeah, they should still have plenty.
I can run the numbers, but I just think you obviously have it. You don't want to bog yourself down for next year and the year after that. Like you can, they had what, $120 million?
Yeah, more than that. Yeah.
And if you spend it all, you're not going to hit on all of them. You're going to have, I understand the, I don't want to say cautious because that pisses people off, but you want to just be a little bit smart about it. So it's not like, oh yeah, sign him. You do have to have some sort of, but if like you said, if he's still available after the rush of people I've never heard of making $20 million a year. Well, I mean, I heard of him because I read the Herald.
Right.
If not for that, it might end. But if I'm going to answer the question of what's needed next, you can read this for the people that are audio only. I've made this for you.
There it is, Cooper Kupp. Yeah, Cooper Kupp. I would also say like revisit those Brandon Ayuk conversations. That'd be one way to get a number one X type wide receiver. And like the 49ers are releasing Kyle Juszczyk. They've like half of their team is gone. It looks like they're just like starting from scratch. So
they're like, we got Purdy, baby.
Time. Yeah. Now seems to be a great time to trade for Brandon Ayuk since the 49ers are losing everyone else.
I have a question about Ayuk.
Higgins is still kind of like possibly a possibility. You could still potentially trade for him. So it feels like they have more options at wide receiver than they do at left tackle. If they sign Cooper Kupp or trade for Brandon Ayuk or trade for T. Higgins, and if they wind up with Cam Robinson, like they can basically just like wipe their hands and be like, we're good until the draft. We've done everything.
They can do whatever they want in the draft. They don't have to rely on an overwhelming need, I should say. I have a question about Ayuk though. He got hurt October 20th.
Yeah.
He likely will be a pup guy, right?
Probably, yeah. But still, like, he's what, 27 years old, something like that, 26. So, like, he's still going to be around for a while, you know?
And didn't know this. How about this fit for Boston? Breaking news. Born on March 17th.
Wow.
He St. Patrick's Day kid. So that could be, he turns 27 next week. Yeah, I guess that's more of like a 10-month injury now than it used to be a 12.
It was longer Kendrick Bourne. But some of these guys can come back by week 1. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but that is a factor.
And beyond that, like they still kind of need a nickel cornerback. You could probably find that in the draft, or you've got Marcus Jones to do it. But otherwise they would be in pretty good shape with a left tackle and a wide receiver. And obviously those are big asks at this point. There's not like a clear cut way to do it other than signing Cam Robinson. But still, they would be in damn good shape if they.
And if you're gonna sign Cam Robinson, load it up front. Give him $18 million guaranteed in year 1, and that way, if a year or two down the line you need to break free or whatever, it's not as like you have that freedom this year to really load up on that, because that draft class is not going to cost you a lot of money outside of the number 4 pick. So, it's not done, I think, is the key. Like. Right now, if you you can't do this, but we're going to do it because this is Pat's chat and there's no rules. How many more wins better did they get today? Like 1, 2, I don't know. Like it's not a significant change.
A couple wins.
Those needs that you mentioned are still the needs. Like they came in as the top 2 needs and they're still the top 2 needs.
Yeah.
But
and like it does kind of, it stinks a little bit that last year it was like, all right, we need a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a tackle in the draft. That's what we need to. And then like to do a second year and be like, okay, in the draft, we need a wide receiver and a tackle. It's just kind of like, all right, so it's Groundhog Day. And like you just remove one need every year. At least they would be able to take presumably a tackle or wide receiver in the first round to immediately fill that need. But it does kind of stink that I guess like if Travis Hunter's there, you could just be like, you're a wide receiver who plays cornerback on third downs. So like that would be a possibility if he's there. I don't know if he's going to be there. I think Abdul Carter would be a great 4th overall pick. You don't want to lock yourself into being like, all right, I guess we have to take Tedero McMillan or Will Campbell at 4 overall. That's just not a great position to be in.
And I still I don't know. Well, can we say that the front office is run by Mike Vrabel now based on today?
Yeah.
So I guess I trust him more if it comes to like trading down 3 spots, 4 spots, 5 spots, whatever, than I would Elliot Wolf in that chair. Yeah. Elliot Wolf doesn't inspire not a lot of conviction coming out of him. Right. So someone like Vrabel, I would trust a little more if it comes to that, because Campbell's not a bad pick. He's a bad pick at 4. I think we all kind of believe. Yeah. So if they end up having to take him, that means they couldn't trade and they had a need that they had addressed, and they have to hope he's the one guy with short arms who can succeed at left tackle.
And you cannot take him over Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Like if one of those guys is there, you have to take them.
Yeah, which there's so much, like who knows what Tennessee is going to do. It's too hard to maybe predict now. We still have, I don't know, Doug, 45 days until the draft starts. So I suppose we'll figure it out before then. But I agree. Like it was a good day for the Patriots. I guess what I'm trying to say is you still need your 2 biggest needs are unfulfilled. Right. But what you did today makes it so that if you can address those needs, it means something. It's effective. If you
Yes.
just went all in on, now granted, it seems like Godwin was never going to leave, but let's say you offered him $8 billion and you get him, and then you go out and get your left tackle. I mean, Ronnie Stanley couldn't, but let's say you threw $8 billion at him. Let's say you put all your money in it, you'd still be 4 wins. So at least today they set up a foundation where if you can address two very important needs and two hard to fill needs, you can have a good season.
You told me you watched a really bad movie recently.
Oh, good memory, because I forgot. So we're getting into the arts and entertainment section of the podcast because it's 55 minutes. We can say whatever we want.
Yep.
Well, I was watching the show Perry Mason, which they remade on HBO, not the old 40s show.
Gotta specify.
It was really good. And then it ended. There was only 2 seasons. And I was like, and you know how you're like empty after finishing a show?
Yeah.
And you're lost, and you have all these buttons you can hit and 8 million movies and shows.
It's true. I genuinely get lost for weeks when that happens.
I think it's called paralysis by something. But you're like
paralysis by
something about having too many options. You like literally can't. My hobby is to scan through and add stuff to a list I'm never going to watch. Anyways, I'm eating lunch. I want to watch something. It's right there on like the HBO home screen. It's Trap by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, I've seen this.
Great that you've seen it because we can discuss it. And M. Night Shyamalan, it used to mean something. If you watched a Shyamalan movie, you were in for a show.
Yeah.
This was the worst movie I have ever seen in my life. I would give it a 1.5 out of 10 because it gets a 1, you need a 1. And then the half is like, well, like it was shot with a camera and it was lit and it had scenes and it had a beginning and an end, but it was so bad. Like there was no plot twist. Like they introduce the whole point and there it is right there, 10 minutes in, you know the story.
Yeah.
I was watching, there's a pop star performing and I'm like, how did this person get cast? Like she has no presence. There's no way like anyone would buy her as a pop star. Turns out it's Shyamalan's daughter.
Yep.
He cast himself.
Wants to be is a singer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like wants a big career. Yeah.
This didn't quite launch her the way M. Night hoped it would. At one point he played it. He was in the movie and he said, I'm her uncle, her mother's brother. And it was like, that is correct. That is what an uncle would be. So that movie absolutely sucked. Your thoughts?
So first of all, it's one of those movies that like, as you're watching it, you're like, this doesn't feel like a movie. This feels like something different than a movie.
Well, that's Josh Hartnett, who hasn't been in movies in 20 years, it seems. Didn't do it's like he was like, oh, I want to do one of those serial killer roles, right? Really mysterious. It was like, not happening.
So the biggest thing for me is that no one involved in that movie's ever been to a concert before, because the concert was at like 11:30 a.m. It was, and constantly in the middle of the show, people were just leaving their seats to go get merch. Like there was so many people out in the concourse. Which
at one point when he pushes a woman down the stairs, which did absolutely nothing to advance any sort of plot. That was during the concert, in between shows, and there was people coming in to the arena.
Yeah,
like 4 songs, like that. There was just a million people.
Well, was there also like an intermission during the set too?
I got anxiety because they're in the tunnel talking about like buying T-shirts and stuff and like meeting moms, and I'm just like, there's concerts going on. Like,
You're
back
missing
to the concert.
a concert. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a wild trip. I saw it a while ago, so I can't say that I remember it as much as you. My biggest takeaways were definitely that it felt like a movie. No one's ever been to a concert before. You can't just like go to the basement. At one point, he was just like, I'm going to go in the basement of this concert, right?
Back room, I think, like
back room
to get a shirt.
It was bad. And there was like a 3 movie stretch where an M. Night Shyamalan movie meant something. I would even say, have you seen that movie Old?
I wanted to because it had the thing, and now I'm glad I didn't because it probably sucked as well.
Can I give you a spoiler about that movie? It has nothing to do with the plot.
I'm not going to see it anyway, so go ahead.
This might make you want to see it.
Okay.
There's one of the characters is a rapper, and his rap name is Midsize Sedan.
All right. Yeah.
So once again, M. Night Shyamalan, his daughter's in music, doesn't seem to know anything about music.
Yeah, or movies anymore, which is too
Yeah.
bad. Like, when you saw, like, I'm just assuming because we're
Yeah.
in 2001, 2000, you went to the movies to see Signs, like, that's what you did, and when the little alien walks by in that
Yeah.
shot, your heart jumps out of your chest,
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, "Oh my god, this is a moment in my life that I'll
Yeah.
never forget." Trap, I will likely forget because it was so bad.
I have forgotten it. When you were so I have one topic before we go as well. When you were a kid, did you collect like baseball and football cards?
I wouldn't say I collected, but at one point, for whatever reason, I came into possession of a box of, like, 1994. I don't know if they were Don Russ. What's Upper Deck? I think they were Upper
Okay.
Decks. And so I had a box which was like 50 packs.
Hmm.
So I had basically the entire 1994 collection, and I still have it in a Trapper Keeper somewhere with shapes on it, like 3D triangles and circles.
How did you miss the trend of collecting cards?
I mean, I would get a pack here and there, but
Hmm.
it never meant that much to me. I was more into the stick of
Interesting.
gum. I loved baseball, obviously, because I was a
Yeah.
kid in the 90s.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't much of a collector. Most things I had, if you were to look around this room,
Hmm.
luckily, fortunately, you really can't. I've lived here for a year and a half, and I've yet to really like unpack in here. I'm a little messy, so collecting and keeping things in good order is not my specialty.
Fair. Well, if there is anyone out there who used to collect cards or still does or whatever, can't say I'm currently a big collector, but there's a YouTube channel called Chasing Cardboard where it's basically like American Pickers, but the guy just like goes around buying people's like card collections. The like quality of this YouTube channel is way too good to be on YouTube. It's like it's like an incredible find. I think they only have like 55,000 subscribers or something like that. But like the production quality, the like the way that they like build drama, the storylines that they have on these people, it's like it is truly incredible. So I found out about it last night. I think I've probably watched like 20 episodes just because today was a day where I just had to sit on the couch and
Mm.
like wait for things to happen. So it was the perfect thing to have on last night and today. I genuinely could not recommend this anymore. It's called Chasing Cardboard. Yeah, that's my recommendation. Don't
I,
watch Trap. Don't maybe watch Old. Old wasn't that bad.
okay.
Definitely watch Chasing Cardboard.
I haven't seen that one, but I was at the barber last week. I got a haircut, no big deal. And they put on, it was like a guy who like, he must have a podcast and like travels the world. And it was the same thing where the production quality and the video quality was like astounding.
It's
I had
nuts.
never heard of this one. I mean, but he's sponsored and traveling the globe doing all this
Right.
stuff. I'm like, he must make a lot of money doing this. And it's just something I had never heard of. It's crazy out there. We are showing our age because we're like, we can do a whole lot on the internet these days, but
I mean,
we
I
are
don't think
old.
you can they're like constantly driving from place to place. Like they're traveling all over the country to do this. You cannot do that on like the amount of YouTube views that they're getting because they don't release episodes that often. But when you're also buying cards at 50% the price you're going to sell them, then like they obviously have a built-in way to be making that much money. And then they're obviously, I don't know, improving their, I don't know, like ways of selling cards by having this channel. Like it all works together where like that's the perfect thing to do to be a highly produced YouTube show. But no, it is pretty wild. I don't know. It's cool. I'd recommend it. We will be back probably soon. After the
You know,
Patriots get a wide
next,
receiver and offensive tackle.
and I'm gonna find my Trapper Keeper. It's in here somewhere. Think that has any value? 1994 Upper Decks. Anyone want to let me know?
Probably not. 90 it was baseball?
Baseball.
I don't recall there being like a great rookie in 94.
Uh,
I think Raul Mondesi won Rookie of the Year that year, or was it Eric Karros? Eric Karros won. No, that was 92. Dodgers had that run of Rookie of the Years. I think it was like Eric Karros in 92, Mike Piazza in 93, might have been Mondesi in 94, then Todd Hollinsworth in 95. No, Hideo Nomo in 95, Todd Hollinsworth in 96. Am I right on that?
I got it up now. My site on 94 was 94. Bob Hamlin.
Oh yeah, he was the AL Rookie of the Year. Yeah.
AL Rookie of the Year. That one shocked me. I got to scroll for the NL in 94. That would be Raul Mondesi,
right?
correct?
Yeah.
What else? Nomo was 95.
Nomo was 95. Hollinsworth was 96.
Khyiris was 92.
And
Piazza
Piazza was 93.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott Rowland 97. Kerry Wood 98. And then you get into Scott Williams and Raphael for call, which is a little bit strange. Do you want to know any more of the rookies of the year?
I've been on it now too. So
how about 95 AL? Come on.
95 AL. So is Bob Hamlin in 94? 95, was it Tim Salmon?
No, that was
93. No, he was 93, wasn't he?
I'll give you 95. Was a Minnesota Twin.
Minnesota Twin in 95. Was it Brad Radke?
Nope.
That would have been earlier. I don't know. Todd Walker?
Marty Cordova.
Oh, okay. That? When he got that one.
Right before
I did name a bunch of Twins at least.
Yeah, you certainly did. You seem like you're good at. That's another thing about me that everyone should know. Watched baseball my whole life, like Baseball Reference, visit every day for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Wrote about baseball for 15 years. I suck at the Immaculate Grid.
I'm pretty decent at it.
I stink like you wouldn't believe. Like the only people I can get are the ones that are like 37%, where they're like the most like name a Red Sox and Yankee. I'd be like Roger Clemens. That's like how bad I am at that. I've learned about my brain. It doesn't do it. It's not like I don't know baseball players.
Right.
I have my friend Dave will always get like 0.3%, 0.1%, and he'll be pissed because one's like 1.2%.
Right.
And it's like, I don't have that. And you do with your AL Rookies of the Year.
I'm pretty decent at it. The only issue is that my only baseball knowledge is from like 1950 to 2007. Like anything past 2007 is like current baseball players. I have not heard of most current baseball players, let alone know which teams they played for. So I'm pulling from a very specific era on it, but I know enough that I can do it usually.
That shouldn't bring you many troubles with Immaculate Grid. Honestly, that should be a plus if you remember.
Yeah.
Old, not young.
I'm just as good at it in football, which is kind of weird because like I know all eras of football, but I think players are just less like if it's like a guard who played for the 49ers and Bengals or something, you're like, okay, there's no way I'm going to know that. I don't know. And usually, let's just end this now. I could go on forever about this, and I'm not going to. So we will be back soon. I have to put my daughter to bed. It's 9:30. And I think that like the next time, like let's say tomorrow, if a bunch of cool stuff happens, we might as well do this again on a shorter scale, right?
I agree. I agree with you.
Cool. All right. We will talk to you guys soon then. Goodbye.